Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. We're a couple of minutes past the hour, and I anticipate some more people will trickle in as we go, and probably coming from other meetings. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the Environmental Health Equity Seminar Series. This is hosted jointly by the Division of Environmental Health Sciences and the School of Public Health Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team at the University of Minnesota. As many of us know too well, currently the burdens of disease and poor health are inequitably distributed both locally in Minneapolis and on the global landscape as well. This inequitable distribution is driven by environmental, social, economic, and structural factors that shape health and are themselves distributed unequally. So the goal for this seminar series is to provide a platform to showcase and highlight some just really groundbreaking and remarkable public health efforts that are working to reduce environmental health disparities and to achieve health equity. So at this inaugural Environmental Health Equity Seminar Series, leaders from the Minneapolis Department of Health will discuss the lead hazard control program to advance health equity, and specifically their Lead Elimination Action Plan, and the goal to reduce the number of lead poisoned children in Minneapolis by 600 children over the next 30 years. So I'm honored to present our two speakers, Lisa Smestad and Firdousia Omar. Lisa is the manager of the Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes Unit for the Minneapolis Health Department. She has worked for the city for over 20 years to eliminate childhood lead poisoning, remove environmental hazards from homes, and to create a program to address environmental asthma triggers for children right here in Minneapolis. Firdousia is a supervisor in the Lead Healthy Homes Unit in the Minneapolis Health Department that oversees environmental investigation for children who've been diagnosed with lead poisoning. She's been with this unit for the past 12 years, and for the past 5 years, she's been managing lead hazard reduction grants from housing and urban development. So I'm just honored to have the both of you here. It's our pleasure to host and to learn from you. And folks, as you're listening and you have any questions for our guests, please just go ahead and submit them through the chat function and we'll be monitoring them. So with that, go ahead, Lisa and Firdousia.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us to talk to you. We love talking about lead and ways to get lead hazards out of the homes of our families. So lead is a heavy metal. They put it in everything because it was so useful. It's commonly found in paint, dust, soil products, like eyeliner, hair dye. They'll just put lead in everything, and drinking water. The greatest impact is on children under 6 and pregnant women because that has to do with the brain development of very small children. And the blood lead levels are determined by, you only find it out when you test. It's very rare that you would know that a child was being lead poisoned by their behavior, because by that time it's very severe. And so the state rules are that when children go to their 1 or 2 year old checkups, that they get tested either through the vein or through a finger stick. So their blood is being tested directly. The impacts of lead, the body thinks that the lead is calcium. So it because it's similar in chemical structure, it mistakes it for calcium and iron, so it picks it up. So nutrition is an important part of lead prevention, that the children are getting enough calcium and iron. It enters the body usually through that hand-to-mouth behavior, because children, toddlers especially, explore their environment by sticking everything they can in their mouth, and they often have sticky fingers. Also, you might get some lead exposure through inhalation when people are sanding lead paint nearby small children, or if they are using heat torching, which is forbidden because that vaporizes lead. But it can damage all the systems in the organ, especially in the brain, but it can also deposit in the bones and prevent proper bone development. It lowers IQ. They can have hearing and speech problems as a result of it. In extreme cases, children can go into comas and die. There is no safe level of lead that they've been able to determine. We just don't need it. The Zoom function is a little challenging here. It cut off the headline here. Lead has, there's a very historic element to lead, that it has been linked to criminal behavior and to unintended pregnancies, because lead, when it gets in the body and gets deposited in the brain, it affects the part of the body that, or the part of the brain that controls impulse behavior. So you can see how both of those things might lead to poor decision making in the future, because something seems like a good idea in the moment, because that impulse behavior has been affected. And that also is connected up with children often who are lead poisoned get diagnosed as having ADHD, again, the impulse behavior component. And this slide shows that they have studied, and these studies have been done worldwide, that 20 years after they ban lead in gasoline, criminal rates have come down. So there's a strong correlation between that impulse behavior and lead exposure and uptake. And lead poisoning is an environmental justice issue. So this is a map of the city of Minneapolis and where lead poisoning has concentrated. And so in the colored areas of these maps, these are also the areas of our city that are high in rental. They have lower income, and it is the more diverse areas of our city. So 87% of the children who get lead poisoned are BIPOC, and only 13% are white. Most of them are in our rental properties. 77% is in our homeowner rental, and 56% are under 30% area median income. So it really is a disease, a wholly preventable disease that is strongly linked to poverty. It also, all these home health hazards also overlap with asthma. This map shows where we have the highest asthma rates also in the city of Minneapolis. And it is no surprise to us who work in the environmental housing area that all these, that poverty and how the homes are maintained would also line up with diseases that are caused by the homes. So these are some of the common asthma triggers that we see in homes that are housing conditions. The mice, the cockroaches, those are, and mold, those are things that are asthma triggers that are related to the conditions in the homes that can have lifelong consequences when kids are exposed to them at a very young age, and helps them to actually, the research is showing that there's a link into developing asthma more than just a correlation. So why are we so concerned about lead dust and lead hazards? Because this is how children interact with their environment. Children lick things and put things in their mouth, and they pick at things. Over to the right here, that slide is the people faces are covering up. Those are bite marks out of a windowsill, because when children are of an age to teeth, they like to look out the windows, and those windowsills are at mouth height. So if that windowsill was ever painted with lead, it's not the top coat of paint that we put on last week, but it's that first coat of lead paint that was ever put on that windowsill. Those children are biting through all the layers of lead paint, and they're getting direct ingestion. These are what we see when we go out into houses. We see candy in windowsills, we see toys where children are playing, and you can see some really horrible conditions, like on the picture of the left of the windowsill, and the paint just literally falling off of that window sash, making it very accessible to children. And this picture was actually taken in a kitchen. So we have made progress over the years. So the map on the left was from 1995, and you can see we had over 1,000 children that year were diagnosed at a blood lead level above 10 micrograms per deciliter, as opposed to last year where we had 90 children. So that is progress per year. It's still too many children, but we're making steps. This chart shows our blood lead levels between 2008 through currently. And so as we have changed the level at which we respond and inspect, we see our blood lead levels go down. So back in 2008, we started inspecting for all families with a blood lead level of 10 micrograms per deciliter. And you can see 5 years later, the number of children with a blood lead level in the green or the blue of 10 or higher have dramatically decreased. And so in 2014, the legislative definition of what's a elevated blood lead level changed to 5. So now we are out testing, doing mandated inspections at households at 5 micrograms per deciliter. And we're also stressing more of a prevention component. And you can see that that is helping to push the blood lead levels down even further. So this is a graph to see how bad it was to the direction we're going. This is at over 10 micrograms per deciliter. So that's great progress, but we're still having this still resulted in over 3,000 children that are in our Minneapolis public school system right now, that all these children poisoned here are in our public schools right now. What type of impact does this have on a neighborhood? So you can see how densely packed the lead poisoning can be. And if you look on the right, we see that little squares are blue and green, and you think, oh my gosh, what's so horrible? Those areas must be really bad. The sad thing is they aren't really that different than any of the other housing stock in Minneapolis. It's just that those are places that were well tested, that we did a lot of work in, that the children got their blood lead test at the right time, because really the housing stock is similar from neighborhood to neighborhood. The biggest thing about these areas of concentration is it's rental property, which is not always maintained as well as we would like on the back of the window sashes. If you want to see what it looks like on a block view, on the left here, each one of those dots in one city block represents children that were poisoned by their houses. The houses with the light green shade, those were houses that we were actually able to go in and do a rehab project to make those properties lead safe. So the next time a child moves in there, they're not going to get poisoned. The other dots all represent properties that the blood level was, we would consider them lead poison today, but when their lead draws were taken, they were not considered lead poison to the point where we could do a mandatory intervention. So those houses that with known hazards are out there waiting for the next child to move in. Last year, the City of Minneapolis City Council tasked us with writing a plan to eliminate lead poisoning. So we have the Lead Elimination Action Plan, and the 6 basic elements are listed here, and it's to identify where the hazards are, get resources to the property owners to correct those hazards, to do a better job of education and outreach, and to identify all the little oddball projects, all the ways that people get exposed to lead in the city of Minneapolis, and then do something about them. So we are moving from a response model to a prevention model. So if in a response model, we were only able to act after a child had been lead poisoned, we would do a home inspection, we do a specialized cleaning immediately. And in this case, immediate needs within 2 weeks to reduce the lead hazards. We issue corrective orders, which usually means the windows are being replaced, the window sills, and often the porch floors in Minneapolis housing. That requires a family to be moved out of their home for like 5 days. We have a rental, we have a lead safe house where we put the families where they can stay during the lead abatement process, and that a contractor must be licensed for lead abatement. In a prevention model, we start inspecting the homes during routine housing inspections. We issue corrective orders, and we offer grant resources for that window replacement. And since the child hasn't been poisoned yet, they can use a contractor that's trained in lead safety, but they don't have to be a licensed lead abatement contractor. So that means there's more contractors available to do that work. The majority of our homes in Minneapolis were built before 1978. 1978 is when lead-based paint was banned from being used on residential properties. 75% of the lead poisonings occur inside of rental housing. And the problem can be really bad in that we have had some blocks in Minneapolis where 30 children who live on that block have been poisoned. The map here shows the density of properties where we know a child was harmed with lead, but those blood lead tests were taken when we were not allowed to do mandated inspections. And so all those properties are out there again waiting for another child to move in. So our goal is to stop using children as lead detectors by doing inspections and identifying the hazards ahead of time, issuing those corrective orders, getting permanent solutions, and educating the community on the grant resources available to them and what they can do to take steps ahead of the time. Because not every child who lives in a property with lead paint hazards gets lead poisoned. Sometimes it's simple, like move the crib away. Don't have a baby crib right next to the window, because a bored child's going to wake up and start picking at the paint. So sometimes you can have engineering solutions that are simple that will help. So this is the pictures here. On the left is the back of a typical window sash that we find in Minneapolis houses. The middle picture is how we prep a property when we're going to replace that window. And the photo on the right is afterwards a brand new double hung window. So the changes we're doing to drive the changes we need to make in the housing is we are now going out with the rental licensing inspectors on what we call coordinated inspections. So we've identified about 5,000 properties that we think are most likely to poison children due to the neighborhoods they're in, the fact that they're rental properties, that they were built before 1930. These are all factors that we know make it more likely for a child to be poisoned there. So we're targeting them. And a health inspector is now going out with the rental licensing inspector and just looking for lead at the property. So what this means for people with rental licenses is that the inspections might take a little bit longer. They're going to receive more corrective orders. The order for that all paint should be intact has been on the Minneapolis books for a long time, but it is not. It's not as strictly enforced because we haven't before had lead inspectors going out and say this is a hazard. And so that's also going to result in a change in how the housing inspectors who will be working with us closely in this are going to understand what lead paint looks like and what they should be looking for when they go out and doing inspections. And so we can also look at portfolio inspections. So if we have one property owner that has poisoned several children, we can say, let's not wait till another child moves into their properties. Let's look at all their other properties that they own in Minneapolis and inspect them and get the lead hazards corrected before someone is hurt. And now lead hazard reduction is not the cheapest thing in the world out there. And so in order to make these changes, we need resources. And the city of Minneapolis has been very fortunate in getting HUD lead grant awards, and Cardoza is our HUD grant, runs our HUD grant. And so we provide a minimum of, well, not a minimum, up to $12,000 typically to replace windows, enclosed porch floors, sills. Stair treads is another surface we find that is poisoning children. And we also can spend up to $2,500 in these properties to correct other healthy home hazards, like maybe putting in a radon mitigation system or stair treads, correcting slip, trip, and fall hazards. And we also can sometimes tap into other programs that the city is offering, like getting people connected up with weatherization. So we try to do a lot of things to improve the housing, both for homeowners and for renters. And our staff also has translators available for our ESL clients. You might have heard of the American Rescue Plan. We also have resources in the purple shaded areas here of Minneapolis that are eligible for, again, $12,000 to do lead hazard reduction. The HUD grants require people to be 80% of area median income or less for the residents, but these ARPA funds are available to anyone in the purple areas. You do not have to prove income. These are some of the grant, show some of the healthy home hazards we do. So we address mold, we put in stair rails, we put in radon mitigation systems, we put in new furnaces. We also have one HUD lead hazard control grant online right now that has is a $5 million grant, and we have just started another $2 million grant. So there are many resources out there to help families and improve a variety of environmental hazards in these homes. This is a picture of what a typical porch floor can look like before and after. So you can see on the picture on the left that if a baby was crawling on that porch floor, they would very quickly become lead poisoned, but we're going to put new plywood down there and paint it. And now we have a surface that's safe for children to play on. Here's a few more examples of before and after lead hazard reduction. So the window sills have been replaced from the picture on the left, and new window sashes have been put in. So this alligatoring here that you see with the straight lines, that's what we call alligatoring for lead paint. Anytime you see that, it's you can pretty well assume that you're looking at lead-based paint on a property. And I will let Fardosa start talking about outreach and education. Not this slide, okay. This is one of the, in order to reach everyone in different languages, this is a video that the city of Minneapolis made on how to work safely with lead paint to do maintenance for homeowners and property owners. And it's been translated into 4 different languages. And then Fardosa will take over to talk about education and outreach.
Thank you for having us today to be able to talk to you about the work we've been doing in Minneapolis for at least 20+ years. For quite some time now, like Lisa have said, we've been in a response mode. You can only imagine resource was limited. We didn't have, we're not staffed well, neither did we have enough resources to be able to offer to folks to do intervention in their homes when we came out and identified hazards in their home. For the past at least 6-7 years, we've been trying to beef up our community outreach and education. There are a number of events that we run in the community throughout the year. Mostly, Minneapolis is, Minnesota's is a 4-seasoned state. So, I mean, we only run these events for 6 months of the year. Some of them, the Tupperware style party, we do try to run throughout the year. But so we table at events at community, existing community events. There are a number of events that happen every year throughout the city, both North and South Minneapolis. The last couple of years have been a challenge because of COVID, but everything is coming back up this year. And we're signed up to participate in a lot of existing community events. The other types of events that we run is one organized by us. So we try to drill down into specific blocks. And I'll go more into it and in how we choose those blocks and what we do at those events. The third type of event is we partner with a local group of nonprofits, the Pillsbury United Gardens. The photo on your right is from such events maybe about 3 years ago. This nonprofit provides us fresh vegetables for our families. Lisa talked about the importance of nutrition, because if a child's nutrition is poor, then more lead is getting absorbed in their body. More lead absorption means greater the damage. So we're really emphasizing, of course, what we identify in the home when we do the investigation, but really the other aspect is the child's nutrition. So our team, I think the garden will start up in a couple of months' time. Any number of weeks, we've got investigations that we do on homes for children that have been diagnosed with elevated blood leads. We will put a little baggies of vegetables together, give it to the case managers, and then when we do go out at the end of their 2-hour visit, they give the vegetables to the family with some nutritional guidelines and recipes on how to make the vegetables that we've given them. Just kind of driving in the point of the importance of nutrition now that they know that their child has been lead poisoned. At this event, we've had Lead Eddie then out there. We also offered cooking classes. The last type of event that we do is a Tupperware style party event, and I'll go a little bit more into that in a later slide. So at these community events, we partner with a number of nonprofit organizations that are located in Minneapolis. Sustainable Resource Center is one, Neighborhood Hub and Central. Both Neighborhood Hub and Central. Neighborhood Hub is located in North Minneapolis. The people running the events are people that are of that community and live in that community. And they do a great deal of canvassing and door knocking for us. And Central is located on Franklin and Chicago, and they serve a huge, large Latino population in greater Minneapolis, but really in South Central Minneapolis. At these events, we take out this van we call Lead Eddie. It's a mobile clinic. We have on any given event, we've got a couple of nurses that work. We are doing capillary draws, like finger prick for the kids. Or if a finger prick comes back elevated, we do our very best to really clean up the child's finger to make sure it's not contaminated. But the way to get an accurate blood level in the child's blood is to do a venous. So if the capillary comes back high and it's a form of screening, we'll offer a venous test on site. If not, we usually tell the family, we'll follow up with you after the event to make sure that the child goes in for a follow-up venous, just to kind of see what the lead level is. We have been able to actually identify kids in the neighborhood with elevated blood leads this way, who have not been going to the clinics. We've taken about, on average, take part in at least about 20 community events in both South and North. These are events, the type of events that we're choosing are the ones that are being held in our target neighborhoods. So neighborhoods that are prehistorically have had a lot of children with lead poisoning, higher rental properties, and then housing stock that is older, definitely pre-78, and even more so housing stock that has properties that are built before 1940s. The plan is to really increase lead screening. Some of our families don't have enough time. I may not take the kid in for their yearly checkup, or for immigrant families, if they're not documented, they may not be taking the kids to the clinic. And we've certainly have had a lot more cases like that in the last 5 years where people feel worried that they think if they take the child to a hospital or clinic that they might encounter some immigration issues. So having the mobile clinic out in the community has been really helpful in identifying these kids who otherwise would not have been. We at the events we offer, of course, resources, everything our department offers, grants. We offer also product testing. We have our machines with us out at the events, and we'll test both crock pots, beans, bean pots, soil, anything that the community wants tested. If our device has the capacity, we'll test it for lead. If not, if they're concerned about it, then we want to send it to the lab. We'll take it back and then send it to the lab. So the block by block events are even more focused than the participating in existing community events. We're driving around, finding out which blocks that we want to do events in. We identify 6 square block. We're looking for properties with deteriorated exterior paint. We're looking for properties that have lots of toys in the yard, indicating to us, we'll door knock, but if nobody answers, we're like, yeah, we should definitely come back to that property, or we should do this block because we think there are more kids on this block. We partner with Neighborhood Hub, occasionally Sustainable Resource Center, to door knock on these 6 block radius that we've identified. We put flyers up. We really try our very best to do it at different times, so we're able to connect with somebody at home, tell them what the purpose of the testing is, and then while we're at their property, if we can see something on the outside of the property that we think is of concern, use that as a way in to say, I could see that your porch floor has lead and your child's toys is right in the porch. You really want to come to our event, so we could tell you a little bit more about how this potentially poses a hazard to your child and your family. So at these events, we're testing kids under 6 and pregnant women. The photo you see here is from one of our events, one of our school-based clinic nurses taking a finger prick. They don't always like it. And I hate making children cry, but we do plenty of that with these mobile clinic testing. And we also offer our grant resources. We also talk about asthma here. Sometimes the family is coming, they get their child tested, and then they're sharing with you all the other problems that they're experiencing in the home or at the property. And we also give them resources. Some of them are like, oh, I'm having issue with my landlord, they've got a lot of mold, they're not fixing. We try to connect them with housing, so or legal aid. So we're not just trying to just leave them with some of the issues that are unanswered. The third type of event that we run is Tupperware style event. This was initially we've initially decided to do this event because we go in for inspections to our, especially for immigrant families, people that come from hot climates that don't know how to live in a home in cold climate, who are their own behaviors in the home is a kind of attributing to the hazards in the home. We've decided to do this specifically for immigrant families. Occasionally we've had families that weren't immigrant who expressed interest, because we do give out resources and we've done that. But mostly the purpose of the program was to teach families who've come from a cold climate how to live in a healthy and safe home here. Usually the person that we're choosing to host these events is somebody who's been through our program already. Through the lead hazard reduction grant, they're familiar with our team, they agreed to do this. They invite friends, families, neighbors to their home because the event happens in their home. We're training on how to keep home environment healthy and safe, using the 8 principles of a healthy home. Keeping their home contaminant free, lead, chemical, etc., keeping it dry. What we find with our immigrant families is that, they come from a cold, hot climate. They're walking into the home in the middle of winter, and the temperature in the home is like 85, 90. They're cooking, slow cooking something on the stove, and all the windows are shut down. And all of that moisture is just going right into the air and settling into the building components. And then, kind of tying what they're doing in the home to the issue in the home. And kind of driving home that point, saying, I understand these are the things that, the landlords can fix, but if you did these things, you can alleviate some of these issues that are impacting you and the health of your family. Keeping it ventilated, keeping it safe, making sure that smoke alarms and COs stay up. Some of our families, especially immigrant families, don't know what those things are. They hear it beep, they'll take it down. So in the training, the beginning of the training, what we do is offer a pre-survey. And then at the end, we'll do a post-survey just to see their knowledge gain. When they're done with the training, what we will do is walk around the property and see if they can identify issues in the home, hazards in the home. And then they'll note that, kind of feel proud that now they're like an inspector, like walking around and identifying issues in the home. These events were really successful. At the event, we would test them. We would test bean pots, whatever else we find in the home. Some of the families here that you see in these photos brought these 2 bean pots that are sitting right on the coffee table, and I'll get a little bit more into what that is in a later slide. And then we offer, if the house doesn't have smoke alarms, we'll offer them smoke alarms. Also, we give them product giveaways. We'll give them vacuums. We'll give them COs and smoke alarms to put up, poison control numbers, information on that. How to keep your home healthy and safe for yourself in multiple languages. And then our contact information. So if this is not, if it's not the host and they want us to follow up with them at their home, we'll do that. We'll schedule an appointment. If it's a homeowner, it's easy, but if it's a landlord, trying to kind of get the landlord on board with our program. So we're not coming in and potentially causing an issue for that tenant. So all of these events, what we offer is product testing and exchange. The photo on the top right is a tagine. It's used mostly in North Africa. It's a clay pot that is glazed. It does have lead. The photo at the bottom right is a bean pot. It's used by people from South America, also Mexico. They cook beans, slow cooked bean in these pots, and the lead leaches right from the pot right into the bean. I think a long time ago, and Lisa could correct me if I'm wrong, we end up doing a test on this where we've cooked bean in a leaded pot and then tested the bean, and then the level came back really high. So when we see these, especially our cases where we've have a child that's lead poisoned, we like to take that away from the family. We give them a crock pot in exchange. Something else that is safer that they could do slow cooked beans in. The photo on the top right is a family that brought in their own crock pot. Not crock pot, bean pot. We've tested it. It was positive. It was at Mexican Independence Day. And then we end up taking the bean pot from them and then gave them a crock pot instead. We do all of this testing with the device on the left, bottom left. It's called X-ray fluorescent machine. It's like about $25,000 machine. It's really these cool little guns that we take out to our site visits when we're doing lead poison investigations. It has the same technology as an X-ray. It can read through layers of anything, layers of paint, can read through the other side of the wall sometimes. And if there is a lead component, if there is lead on any component, it'll give us an instant reading that lead is present, but it will also let us know what concentration the lead is in. Is it like at 1 or is it out of 40? And it will let us know where it's collecting the reading from. Is it so close? Is it closer to the surface, or is it like further in on the building component? So we also test toys at these events. So that's really a big draw for families. But we're testing all of these things. Both of the bean pot and the tagine were actually found in a home. For the tagine, it was found in a home where the family had, the child tested high for lead, was diagnosed with lead poisoning. The family was living in a home that was built in the 2000s. So we know the building didn't have lead. And the only thing that we can find that had lead was tagine. I think after we've left, they gave the tagine to us and we took it with us, and now we use it as display on our outreach and education events. But we've also had the rest of the family test themselves because they were all eating out of that tagine. They were cooking in it, serving in it. And I think, I don't remember the level, but the other members in the household did come back with a bit higher level of lead in their body as well. Lisa? For marketing these events, we run if it's community events, tabling at events, or if it's events that we're running ourselves, we put flyers out. We use the communities that we partner with to go out and do canvassing for us. They door knock because we want to, when we hold these events, we want it to be as successful as possible. And we found out that to get as many people to come to the event, to do that required, it's a resource heavy event, but the payoff is that you're going to reach as many people as possible in the community. We door knock, we put flyers, if a family is not at home at 10 a.m. in the morning when we're doing our canvassing, we'll go back on Saturday or we'll go back at 6 p.m. And these things really do help in getting our events be well attended and get more families tested. We do put out Facebook ads. We push it to specific zip codes if we're running events in the different areas of Minneapolis, because we want the people in that particular neighborhood to be able to be aware of the event and to come out. We also advertise on Nextdoor, of course, city websites and city's Twitter account. We have for the past, I believe 7 years now, have been running best bench ads in our target neighborhoods. Those are neighborhoods with historically high lead levels, higher rental properties, and then houses with deferred maintenance, places that we think are more likely to have children that could be exposed to lead. The picture on the left is one of the ads that we run through our city website. We'd like to show a picture of what the hazards that we find in the home is, and then put it out and say, if you're seeing this in your home, please give us a call. This is an event that we've partnered with shared neighborhood organizations. We like to also take part of events where there are other giveaways, because the likelihood of other people, a lot of families coming is greater because they're looking for resources. So this was an event actually that did happen last year and was well attended. Of course, with COVID kind of complicates the whole keeping distance and all of that stuff, but it was a very well attended event. It was very successful, and I think we tested like at least 22 kids here for lead. This last event, this was October of last year. It's either in Jordan or Hawthorne neighborhood in North Minneapolis, and all of these are new immigrants, Somali families. Was at the end of the day, we had a couple of people that were out, got their kids tested. They found what our event was about, and then they just called each other. So here we are trying to shut down for the day, and then we had a whole line of people that were ready to have their kids tested. So it's good to see families are, once you talk to them about the things that their children could be exposed to in the home, they line up to get their kids tested. They can easily go to the clinic, but when somebody is working 10, 12 hours, and it's so much easier when we're out in the community to just kind of bring their kid out and get their child tested than having to go to the clinic. It's just, having to find somebody else to babysit the other kids. So having this mobile clinic weaving through the different communities has done tremendously for our work and getting our message out. And we're always trying to, what we say here in this unit is we don't want to use children as lead detectors. We don't want to come out. We don't want to be in a position where we're dealing and investigating a home because the child has already been lead poisoned. The damage has happened already. We really are trying our very best to prevent. We want to work ourselves out of a job eventually, because no child should be lead poisoned. As Lisa has talked about the impact of lead on young children. Once it's inside their body, it could change the trajectory of their life. So yeah, we went from having in 1995 over 1,000, almost 1,200, little over 1,200 kids being lead poisoned in Minneapolis alone, to 2021 last year we had 90 kids that were lead poisoned. So our goal is to have 0 kids. We're some ways away, but we'll keep trucking along and finding different ways to do our work and improve and engage. So thank you for having us. I guess now it's time for Q&A.
That's our contact. That's
Yeah,
our contact
great.
info.
Great. Thank you, Lisa and Fredosia. That was just such a wonderful presentation. I can tell you guys have really just are passionate about this area and are making a big impact on Minneapolis with the work. We had a couple questions come in, and we'll start with the first one. This goes back to when I think Lisa was talking about rental units, or at least renters, about 75% of the cases occurred. Do landlords pay for the remediation, or what's the requirements around financing that from a rental unit perspective?
Well, we will offer, prior to having HUD lead grants, they had to pay 100% for all the repairs on a property. And so a lot of times houses didn't get repaired at all. And some properties were even condemned and torn down. But we don't want to lose the housing stock in Minneapolis. The most affordable housing is housing that's still there. And so with the advent of once Minneapolis started getting the HUD grants, then we were able to offer this cost share. So right now, we pay 90% of costs for lead hazard reduction, and the property owner pays 10% of the lead costs. Now that's for items like windows, windowsills, and floors. The exterior shell of the property, like if they have to paint the whole outside of the house or the garage or the soil, that's usually paid for by the landlords 100%, because we just don't have enough money in the lead grants to pay for all of that.
We're not always finding interior paint everywhere. So
yeah,
sometimes the scope of work could be anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000. And we'll share with them, and then they could take loans too. There's a 0 interest loan that's available on offer for especially our homeowners.
Great, super helpful, and sounds really compelling for more resources to do this work. How do you guys have any idea of how the lead prevalence in homes and how it corresponds with racial disparities in Minneapolis compares to St. Paul?
St. Paul has very similar housing stock. I would be unsurprised to see if their statistics were similar as far as it's in rental property, it's in houses built before 1930. I I haven't looked I haven't asked them for a review of their data, but I would think it would be very similar because their cities kind of grew up together.
Sure.
And again, St. Paul will have certain neighborhoods, just like we do, that the lead poisoning is concentrated in.
And this is kind of seen across the country too. It's not just us.
Great, thank you. That's, I think, super helpful. Another question is, can you describe some of the challenges of explaining to parents the short and long-term effects of exposure to lead when their children have had detectable lead levels?
Would you repeat that question?
Sure, yeah. Can you describe some of the challenges of explaining short and long-term effects of lead exposure among children? Maybe we'll just frame it that way.
Well, God, I mean, the immediate one, if there's a language barrier, and if it's a family that's new to the country, we will make sure that we take the right resources with us to make sure they understand it. For our families that are, English is not a barrier. It's not just us going into the home. Nurses are going with us too. And we like to do this in our unit a little bit. If somebody is just like not engaged, we'll dial up the impact of lead for that family, because we don't want to, because sometimes we come in and the family is already overwhelmed and emotional. And we're tasked with having to calm the parent down and also, share what the sources of exposure in their home after 2 hours of being in there. So we're kind of like always, when somebody is just kind of like, if they don't understand it, we'll break it down. And we do, we like I said, we are going around in the home with this device that gives us an instant reading. So we know where everything is or where the source of exposure is most of the time, because sometimes we can't find it. We don't find anything that's an immediate, that we can immediately could be the source of exposure. It might be a family that is giving a family an herb that they're not hiding, but they don't necessarily share that with us. I've had a case where it was an Afghani family in a new home. I just was like, we couldn't find anything anywhere. We found out that, on the third visit, what the source were and having to explain that, and the family handed that over. If it's somebody who's just like, I don't care and all of that stuff, because it's a lead poisoning, we can get child protection, all of that involved. We never want to get to that, obviously, but really drive home the point of what is it, where did we find it, and walk around with the family. We're not just there just like briefing them. Eventually we will send a 40-page report that can overwhelm anybody, but there's 3 of us that are going into the home to do this work. It's not just one person, and we'll walk with the family at the end to kind of give them a recap summary of what we found. And then there's an interview component to our work, talking about why we're there, how did we end up coming to be there, because sometimes their doctors may not immediately tell them that the city will be mandated to come out, that they are not going to have a choice in us coming out. And then how this could impact their kids, and then walk around and then say this and these are the surfaces that could be the source of exposure, and then give them a timeline on when that work is expected to be done. And let them know that, if it's a homeowner, it's just obviously we're dealing with them directly, but if it's a landlord, kind of like bringing that person in, so all of us are on the same page and have an understanding of what was found, where was it found, and how is it going to be fixed for that family.
Yeah. And a part of the nurse that comes out and talks to the family, their job is to do developmental screening for the child to see if they have been impacted. And a lot of times the children we work with are referred over to Head Start or
Help Me Grow
or other programs, because when you've suffered a brain injury like this, one of the best things that the families can do for children, other than reduce the hazards, is also to make sure that they're getting an enriched environment to help with their brain development.
Wonderful. That was really, really helpful to hear you both speak through. So I know we're almost at 3. I just wanted maybe more of a comment. I think just such wonderful work. And I think the relationship between lead and violence, as well as lead and unplanned pregnancies, and talking about really how that impacts the brain and the development, was just some really profound data that was helpful to see. And I think from a racial equity standpoint, is just helpful to put into context. So thanks for presenting on that. And also the lead and nutrition information I didn't know about. So that was great to hear as well. So thank you both. And any last comments for our audience?
People, we urge you to reach out if you have any other questions to ask up or follow up, or if you would like us to come out and look at your homes. We can enroll in the lead grant, or we could also, offer advice, because sometime one of the future programs we want to have is they call before you paint, because lead poisoning happens either because somebody failed to maintain a painted surface, or they go to maintain a painted surface and now they dry sand it, and now there's lead paint dust everywhere in the house, becomes in very digestible particulates for small children to uptake. So either of those it could be very hazardous conditions that we want to be able to provide advice, because we would much rather prevent lead poisoning than respond to it.
Great, thank
And
you.
thank you once again for allowing us to come and talk to you.
Thank you for having us.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for tuning in.